Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilly Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, I take a drink of this, and yes, I'll probably rant again about instant gratification society and basically how it's basically turning the entirety of the world into a massive, undeniable train wreck. So, what am I talking about? So I'm not just talking about the JRC here. I'm talking about public schools. I'm talking how basically even the way that I learned in the 90s has gone the way of the dodo. See, when I was in school in the 90s, that was the beginning of the computerization of education. Fact of the matter is, though, what they did with us, because remember, this is the advent of the internet. This is just when it was getting big, is we would have a 1 hour a day computer lab. And what was that computer lab for? It was basically to just teach us about the internet. How to log on, how to use Netscape. This was back when Netscape was the primary use and server for the internet. This was before, Microsoft came along with Internet Explorer. Yes, I'm that old. It taught us basic typing skills and basically how to surf the web for information. So it had really nothing to do with what it's become. There was no instant gratification. In fact, it was a mind-numbing lesson in learning patience. Remember, this was back in the era of even my cat's looking at me weird, like, Mom, what the hell? That sound is like burned into my memory banks. Back in the early days, there was no instant gratification. If you wanted something, you had to work for it, or you had to be incredibly patient for it. And why did this pay off? Dr. Matthew Israel said, but you also had rewards and punishment. Maybe, but not to the extent that that fucker does. Nor was there instant gratification. We had reading programs to encourage the development of our reading comprehension skills. If you were able to read a book, do a report on it, and by the way, this happened for the entirety of the year. You just didn't instantly get a freaking reward for having read one book. You had to show by means of a book report that you comprehended the things that you read and what were your thoughts on it. Also, these book reports had to follow a certain way of writing. The intro, the meat of the matter, and the close. Here's where, doing English class would kick in. You had to follow that formula. There had to be no run-on sentences. There had to be proper quotations. Words had to be spelled correctly. This is when skills in writing, which has also gone the way of the dodo, were taught. How to properly and efficiently take notes was taught. Yeah, that. And if you were able to do that throughout the year, you would get a certificate to go get a pizza at Pizza Hut. Or in my case, the only pizza place in town was Mazio's, so we would get that. What do we do now? If you've seen the state of journalism and what is allowed to be let out there onto the internet and onto the newspaper pages that they considered writing these days, if you were someone who was trained in the manner that I was, I really don't see how your brain's not exploding right now. These people were not taught proper writing structure, proper quotation, proper grammar, proper spelling. These individuals don't even use spell check. Okay? They came from instant gratification. What does that mean? It's when you get rewards for anything and everything and it's instant. You don't have to work for anything. It's just automatically given to you. It's like you get a trophy for literally showing up. You didn't put the work in. You didn't, persevere. You didn't overcome. There was no putting the nose to the grindstone. It's literally a participation trophy for showing up. How is that going to help in real life? You got these kids coming out of these schools with very unrealistic expectations on life. They are in for one hell of a rude awakening. Because, yeah. In this world, you don't get a participation trophy or a paycheck just simply for showing up. You better know how to do your damn job. Nor do you get it in college. It has taken away from education the idea that you have to work for things. Know what I mean? It's that interaction between teacher and student that has been gone for many years. These kids come out thinking that the world is going to hand everything to them because that is what they've been taught the entirety of their lives. Why are these kids coming out so entitled and are actually more Karen than Karen? Because that's what they've been taught. That the world owes them everything and they owe it to them now because they are simply born. Yeah. They're never allowed to struggle. They're never allowed to put their nose to the grindstone. They're never allowed to overcome. And if you don't have those things, then you don't have victory. So, yeah, just some of my thoughts on that. I will probably put, because what helped me think more than anything because of my education is pull out one of my notebooks and start writing on it. But anyways, off topic, but since you asked Cam Lamb, some of my thoughts. Instant gratification has made this generation some of the most entitled, poorly educated, inadequately prepared generation, period, bar none. I may have been a part of the slacker generation, but our motto was to work smarter, not harder. We were aware we had to work for things. We were going to apply the problem solving skills that we were taught in order to make things a little bit more easier, a little bit more organized. But no, we did not expect instant results. All right, folks, in the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavioral modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share on all your social media. We also have NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC has the balls to see through with their threat. We also got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation as well. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens, that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, allegations, and claims leveled against it, all of which so far have been substantiated with hard evidence found in the independent investigations done by the Missouri Department of Social Services that include sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another, a doctor who's still on the premises with full access to the kids, up on multiple substantiated claims, again, by the Missouri Department of Social Services, of rape, sodomy, and sexual assault of the boys there. You got an attorney general who still can't seem to figure out how to do his job, and a governor hyped up on the power trip. So please share all those articles. Don't forget to sign and share to change.org. Shut the Agape boarding school down petition. We got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shots campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject. The templates, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses. A clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. The templates and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please use your headphones. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and talk about dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, parental supervision is advised. All right, folks, trigger warning. We are about to descend into the mad ravings of a lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. We're going to cure lies. We're going to cure batshit insane pseudoscience. We are going to cure gaslighting, victim blaming, the condemnation of an entire field that Dr. Matthew Israel has no business even speaking on. God. And yeah, just so be prepared for some complete illogical bullshit and enough ableism to wrap around the world 3 times, all right? So where we left off yesterday, let's go back to this insane train wreck, shall we? Here we go. As applied to the psychiatric problems of children and adolescents, evidence of effectiveness of psychotropic drugs in treating depression, anxiety, or manic depressive disorder is largely lacking. Lie! I'm going to start with myself on that. See, about around time of high school, I was diagnosed along with autism with post-traumatic stress disorder. And boy, my version of PTSD, it's some shit, folks. Bad enough that I was hallucinating moments out of my past, and to the point that cellular memory would recreate the bruises on my skin, okay? Bad. That same PTSD would then kick into gear an autistic meltdown from hell. Yeah. Fun. Fun times, right? I was put on antidepressant medication. And remember when I talk about that marriage, you can't just throw pills at a problem if proper treatment is not married to it. I also received therapy from a trained psychologist, as well as receiving medication from a psychiatrist, as well as also working with my social workers and my circle of support. Again, results. It may not be the Ritz, but it's mine. And through proper medication, proper therapy, proper overall program that came out of an actual full, well-rounded functional fucking assessment. That's how I got here, folks. So the fact he's going to sit here and tell you, but it's lacking, it doesn't help you, you weren't helped. Go talk to my aunt and my mother, Dr. Israel. Go talk to them and tell them that you don't think it helped me, when you know absolutely zero about any of these people's history. Again, the doctor is trying to take on a field that he's never studied and a part of science he's never been a part of, in which he has no degree or any authority to stand on whatsoever. He's speaking on something that he does not understand. And that is very, very clear. But he's going to keep pontificating on as if he had the right to do so. And he's going to pander to these parents and suggest to them dangerous fucking ideas. Ideas that have in the past gotten kids killed. Let me move on. The same applies to SSRI drugs such as Prozac. See, my stepmother begs to differ. Again, my uncle begs to differ. A lot of my friends beg to differ. This man does not know the effects of these medications on individuals. He's trying to convince you of something when he has none, zilch, nada, any business to pontificate on. Many of the prescriptions that are given by physicians are for uses indications that have not been approved by the FDA. They are said to be off-label. Bullshit! See, doctor, if they actually did that, that would be illegal and no places could be sued off the face of the planet. Doctors are not allowed to prescribe medication for anything else other than its indicated use. If they do not, they lose their license, their practice, or any ability whatsoever to be a part of the mental health field, even as so much as a lowly direct care staff, okay? That is a lie, folks. That is a lie. Although this is not illegal, yes it is. It is actually extremely illegal. Are you on crack? Whenever this is done, even the limited protections that the FDA oversight process provides are not being taken advantage of. My God, how many lies do you come up with before you eat breakfast, doctor? Of course, it gives one aggressive individual so much psychotropic medication that he or she sleeps all day. One may be able to avoid much of the individual's aggression. Again, he's talking about things he does not comprehend or understand. Again, I was on Seroquel when I was in high school for a short time. Seroquel did not prevent me from learning. I may have not been at my full capacity, but I was still able to learn, walk, talk, think, act. He's talking about things that he does not understand. Basically, he's just making this shit up as he goes along. However, this is not treatment, this is chemical restraint. Again, no, it's not, doctor. And by the way, what the fuck do you call what it is that you do? I will bring you back, doctor, to the fact that you literally restrain these kids inside the vans all the way to school. I will bring you to the fact that you have literally killed a student using and restraining them to a bed with leather belts face down with a helmet over their head where they died of asphyxiation. You gonna tell me that's not restraint? Or how about when you tie them to the chair and then proceed to shock them over and over again? Or what is it that you call that 4-point fucking board, doctor? Because that is restraint. When you tackle a student and cause it a behavioral rehearsal lesson, guess what that's called in reality? The fact that you have the GED on them at all fucking times, doctor, that is mechanical fucking restraint. You can put the blame off on the boogeyman all you want to, doctor, but the matter of the fact is you are guilty of every single thing that you're using to point the finger at somebody else over. The price that is paid for doing that is that the individual is not really alive and will suffer horrendous medical consequences for the side effect of the drugs. It's not a fact. Seems to me I'm walking, talking, working, living, going out in my community, taking walks, taking pictures, going out with my mom, preparing for Christmas, grocery shopping, all of that good stuff. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. I am quite alive, doctor. The only medical consequence that I had, really, is it took me years to get back a regular metabolism to where I was able to hold weight on me again. Granted, that was some shit to struggle through. The leg spasms, yeah, that sucks, sure. But I'm quite alive, doctor. And in fact, I don't want to know what the consequences would have been had I been not put on medication when I was. Because I was a fucking train wreck, doctor. Without that medication, without the proper therapy, without the fucking person-centered planning program and my circle of support, I would not be here right now. I would have offed myself a long goddamn time ago. He's speaking on things he does not understand in a field he's never studied, in a field he has no doctorate, no master's, no nothing in. Pharmacy techs know more about this science than he does. You cannot appeal to authority in a field that you've never been a part of, doctor. You are toting dangerous pseudoscience in a manner that even Andrew Wakefield looks at you and says, "What the fuck, son?" This, folks, should scare the hell out of you. If you do not take anything else in consideration before you send these kids off to this place, take this into consideration. This man does not have the education or the credentials to ever have any control over your kid's medication. And the way he goes about it can irrevocably fuck up your kid for fucking life. These are not play toys. We are not dolls. We are real fucking human beings. And taking us off of necessary medication because he has this insane theory that we don't need this. Yeah. And by the way, if you want to sit there and tell me these medications do not have any effect whatsoever, let's not look at my life. Let's look at my uncle's. What did I tell you the other day? Without these medications, there is no way in hell he would ever have been able to live an ordinary life. I can say that with my whole fucking chest, okay? I'm going to say that again. My uncle with a diagnosis, not the uncle I always talk about with the car dealership, but another uncle. If he did not have that medication, he would not be living in his own home, working a full-time job, and having an ordinary life. He would be in a hospitalized institution, okay? Some quality of life. See, Dr. Israel don't give a shit about quality of life. What he cares about is that he can convince you of his insane pseudoscience so he can make $280,000 a year off your kid. If the federal government will not step in to stop this man, I don't know who else has the power to do so, but they need to fucking know what they are doing in this school and what pseudoscience they are teaching. These people are no different than the fucking insane anti-vaxxers. Okay? My biggest statement of advice, my biggest thing I want you to take away from this. I don't care if a person has a doctorate or not. If it is not a doctorate in the field for which they are speaking about, then it's probably a lie. They're trying to sell you something. And what they're selling you could end up, well, like the 6 dead kids. This man is dangerous. And the people who have drank his Kool-Aid and taken over his program since then are just as dangerous as he ever was in 2010. And I'm going to close out. And no, I'm not going to close out. Federal government and state government have been funding this school for decade after decade after decade. I need these people to wake the fuck up and read this man's words. He is making up lies about an entire profession and field that he has no business even commenting on. He is encouraging parents of individuals with mental health issues who need their medication to fucking function and telling them that it's not going to work and that they should just take them off their medication and send them to him. Pay attention, government. This is who you've been funding. Now I'll go ahead and close out. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.